I'm Andrea Giles, and you're listening to the Heal from Infidelity podcast, episode number 78, High Desire, Low Desire. Hello, and welcome to the Heal from Infidelity podcast, where courageous women learn not only to heal from their spouse's betrayal, but to become the boldest, truest, most decisive, and confident versions of themselves ever. If you know there's more for you than the life you're currently living, but don't quite know how to get there, you are in the right place. Stick around to learn how to create a life that will knock your own socks off. Is it possible? It is, and I'm here to show you how. I'm your host, Andrea Giles. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome to episode number 78. I hope this episode finds you doing well, feeling good about the direction you are going in your life, feeling good about you and the progress that you're making. I want to just say again, I know that I keep saying this, but I love hearing from you. And this week, I got some really beautiful, thoughtful emails that I'm just so grateful for. I love hearing from you. I love hearing about your life and hearing about how this podcast has helped you and in what areas. And it just means the world to me. So thank you for reaching out, those of you who have. I love it. I love hearing from you. I am doing well. I am really tired because having a baby when you're 44 is no joke. I'm tired. Getting up in the middle of the night, every night, just the constant somebody needing you, right? She's a good little lady and sleeps pretty good at night, but so far she does not love sleeping during the day. So anyway, I know things will settle down, but this evening, while I'm recording this podcast, I'm a little sleepy, so I'm trying to perk up for you. Overall, though, things are going well. So let's jump into the title of today's podcast, High Desire, Low Desire. Now, a lot of times when you hear that description, what do you think of? What comes to mind for you? Probably sex. No, that is not what I'm talking about today. That may pop up as part of the conversation, but it is much broader than that, okay? Today, I'm going to talk about high desire, low desire around all areas in our lives and why this can become a struggle in our marriage. So last week, I did an episode called Holding On to Yourself, right? And I hope you listened to it. I'm going to be doing more around this topic. Today, the piece that I'm covering around holding on to yourself is about high desire and low desire and why holding on to yourself is crucial here. So as the word suggests, high desire, low desire is when one person desires something more than the other and therefore is often the one taking the strongest action towards it, okay? So with sex, for example, the high desire partner may be the one initiating it the most. It's the person who is taking the most initiative toward something, some goal, something that they want. This dynamic happens all the time in relationships, even in friendships, right? All kinds of relationships, not just a romantic relationship. But today we are focusing on a committed romantic relationship. Here are some examples of things that we can be high and low desire about. Financial goals, such as retirement, credit ideas, savings goals, risks that you're willing to take in your financial goals, etc. Children, how many children to have or not have, discipline around the children, all the things children, vacations, travel. Now this one, as I was preparing this episode, I thought, oh, for sure, I know where I land in this one. I am definitely the high desire person here. And so when we do traveling, I generally do most of the planning because I'm the high desire person. I desire it more. I want it more. Another example is sex. High desire, lower desire. Not low desire always, but lower desire. Communication. One partner might want all the communication, while the other one might be satisfied with very little communication. It can be as simple as shopping for the next car that you want to drive. It can be what house to buy and shopping for that. It can be rules around how much screen time you want in your house. when the TV is on, things like that. Okay. Now, sometimes it may look like control, the high desire, low desire cycle. Okay. An example I thought of when I was preparing this is of a friend of mine who several years ago, I remember her telling me that she felt like her husband wanted her to look like this certain part. And so he would buy her like this certain role, like looking like the fancy housewife with the money. And he would buy her nice clothes and heels and things like that. And she was really bugged because she felt like he wanted to come home to her dressed up and wearing heels and looking fancy at her house. And she's like, that is not at all what I want to be. That's not me. Now, this person, she is very classy. She does look nice and cares very much about how she looks. But to her, it felt like control because she felt like it was more about him than her. So she had to learn to say no and yes from a place of her own desire and not his. Okay. Had to come from her desire, not I'm going to do this so he can feel like he has this fancy wife and make him feel really special and important. Right. Instead, it was I'm going to do this because I care about what he wants, because I want to look attractive to my spouse, because I care about that, or because I like how I feel when I dress this way. And sometimes it's a no, like, nope, not today, not feeling it today. And either way is fine. That was just an example of how it can look like control sometimes. When does the high desire, low desire become a problem? It can be a problem when you get into a gridlock situation where one wants something badly and the other either one drags their feet to slow things down and not really deal with themselves, or two, they really don't want what the other person wants from an honest place. They really don't want it. So one issue that comes up a lot with my clients is when one client wants to heal the marriage more than their spouse does. So there's a high desire person in terms of moving things forward, and a lower desire person. Now, this happens for many reasons. Let's talk about some of those reasons, okay? As you are listening, I want you to identify what you feel is most true for you if this situation applies to you. Number one, they don't want to stay married but haven't come out and said it. Instead, they don't really do anything. Things can become very stagnant in this place. This is an example of them wanting something different. It seems like a gridlock, but it is more of an issue of not being honest and telling the truth of how they actually feel, and maybe even to themselves. Maybe they haven't even admitted it to themselves yet. They're just kind of living in this space of, I'm just not going to do anything because I don't want to deal with it. Okay. Number two, they want to stay married, but are afraid to self-confront. Now, self-confronting is an episode that I've got coming up, so you'll learn more about that. But basically, it means they don't want to see themselves as they are. So it is easier to stall out, blame you for their weakness as for why they can't or won't put in more effort. It's easier to stay in a gridlocked place. Number three, they want to stay married, but don't want to be controlled in the process. They don't want to be told exactly what it needs to look like. They want to work on their end of it on their own terms without being prescribed of what to do. Sometimes in an attempt to feel better, women will put things in place to try to calm their emotions, like daily phone and internet checks, putting trackers on cars, wanting to know exactly who they talk to and when, and what they are doing to work on themselves. They might want to know what podcasts or books are they listening to and reading. What did you listen to today? What are you reading as an assurance to them that they are working on themselves? They want to grow, but may feel stifled by the demands placed upon them and want to do it their way at their own pace. They want the high desire partner to slow down a bit and wait for them. Number four, the fourth option is that they have communicated that they don't want to stay married, but you have asked them to give it a certain amount of time and they have agreed to it. All of those apply to anything you might be in a gridlock on your marriage. Okay, let's look at it another way. Let's say there's something you are low desire about. Maybe it's about money, okay? Looking at and managing finances. You either, number one, don't really care as much, truly don't care as much. Maybe you have a mindset that says that things will just work out and that you aren't going to worry about it. Maybe your level of financial care looks different than your spouse. So it may just be that it's not as important to you and you're okay with it, but you have not communicated it well to them. So it comes across as indifference and not caring. Number two, you do care, but you don't want to feel the feelings that come up for you when you look at finances. You're afraid to feel shame and guilt for your spending habits. You might have scarcity around money. You might not want to look at the numbers because you know that you'll feel like there's not enough. Worry might come up. Maybe you don't want to see yourself honestly and see exactly what your spending habits are, so you avoid it. Again, this can come across as not caring, but it really is about a fear of seeing yourself. Number three, you care about money, but don't want to feel controlled around it. You don't want to have to monitor every penny cent and feel like you have to give a report that feels punitive and childish to you. You want to engage more, but feel like it has to be on his terms or it doesn't count, and you don't like that. Number four, you have communicated that you don't want to engage in certain financial things, but have agreed to leave the door open. And sometimes you're stuck in gridlock on this, and those are some of the reasons why you might be stuck, okay? Why you might be the low desire partner and why you might be stuck. Again, this can come up in any area of marriage, this gridlock around high desire, low desire. Now, I mentioned a book called Passionate Marriage by David Schnarch, and he shares an example in it where he talks about a time where his wife held on to herself in a pretty important matter. And I'm going to tell you about that. So they had planned on having at least one kid, but they didn't really decide when. So they get married, several years go by, and she keeps bringing it up. I really want to consider having a kid. I really want a kid. And he kind of puts it off and puts it off and puts it off. Well, I don't know. I don't think I'm ready. And they get to this gridlock, right? So what do? Well, in this situation, what happened is she said to him, I am no longer on birth control. I am no longer on birth control. So if you don't want to have a child, you're going to have to use contraception yourself. And he was mad. He felt a little bit controlled. He felt a little bit like she was forcing his hand. When in reality, she was holding on to herself. She was holding on to her own desire and saying, he can do what he's going to do. But I am not going to continue to play this part of somebody who doesn't want children when that is not accurate. I actually do. So if he doesn't want children, the burden is on him now to make it not happen. Can you see the difference there? I hope you can see the difference. At first, he was upset, but ultimately, it brought him to a point where he had to self-confront, where he really needed to look at it and go, okay, what is going on with me? Why do I keep putting this off? Do I want children? Do I not want children? What do I have to see in myself that I don't want to see, that I've been putting off? Ultimately, they decided to have a child and had a little girl. So that's how they moved past gridlock. What are some other examples? Okay, so here are some points about what moving past gridlock looks like and doesn't look like, okay? First of all, it does not look like contention and being adversarial and fighting. You might think otherwise, okay? You might think that you have to go in, guns blazing, you listen to me. Okay, that is just not true. In fact, when somebody is really in a space where they're holding on to themselves, where they really know what they want, they are the high desire person, they know what they want, and they've cleaned up all of their reasons why they want it, they're in a really, really strong position. And here's why. It requires a lot of work, personal work, to look at yourself, to really see why you want something and get to a place where you like it, you know that you want it, and it feels true to you, to where you can validate your own reasons, where you don't need somebody else to say, oh yeah, that is a good idea, where you yourself know that it's a good idea, where you know that it's something that you want. You're not needing anyone to validate it for you. So the reason why you're in such a strong position is because you can go and have this conversation without needing them to validate you, without needing them to go, oh yeah, that's right. That does sound good, or needing anything from them because you have already done that work. So if they give you pushback, which they often do, you can handle it. You don't have to get defensive. You can just know what you know you like your reasons, and stand your ground. Now, for example, what about something like sexual intimacy? Okay. Sometimes people want intimacy so it can make them feel manly or womanly and desired. I need you to do this for me so I can feel this way about myself. This is placing the burden of feeling desired at the feet of someone else instead of wanting to be intimate with your partner. Okay. You're making it more about you than about your union, being together with this person that you love. You're wanting them to want you more than you actually want them. You want them to validate you so you can feel okay. This is a problem because that person has to continue to validate you, and it can put quite a burden on that person and on your relationship, a strain. So when you can identify something you want and validate yourself, you can then go have a conversation, or even if they do get defensive or say things that are incorrect, you can be so sure about your stance that you don't need anything from them. Initially, the other person may kick and scream around this new version of you and not quite know what to do with it. But eventually, if the marriage is going to grow, they will see that you are standing your ground, holding on to yourself, and understand that they have a decision to make, where they will either be forced to self-confront or leave the relationship. Okay. What does this look like when the storm rages? What it looks like, and by that I mean if the other person is really throwing a fit about it. What it looks like is reminding yourself that you matter, that what you want matters, that you're not being unrealistic, that you're not being unfair. Okay. It's not a control move. It's you saying, this is what I want, and I'm willing to let go of you. I'm willing to let go if this is not something that we can come to terms on. So let's go back to the example of you wanting the marriage more than the spouse, okay? And I'm just using you, whoever is listening, as some broad person, okay? Not you in particular. It might fit, it might not. If the low desire spouse takes a look at themselves and addresses the fears that are coming up for them about being all in and takes action from that place, it will send a clear signal that you both want the same thing, and it settles the marriage down. If they choose not to, for whatever reason, it may heat things up more. Either way, you are getting new information. You're getting more clarity on how to proceed. We don't have to suddenly become high desire if we are low desire. But showing our spouse that we care about what they care about goes a long way toward mending a relationship. And on the flip side, we don't have to tamper down the thing that we're high desire about to match the energy of our spouse. Okay. We can find a place where we feel content that we are moving forward, or that we're moving toward the thing that we're high desire about, without going down to the low desire position and pretending like we don't care, that we don't actually want it, going to this place where we drop the things we want just to keep the peace. Okay. We're not doing that. We're sticking to the things that we want, and we're taking action from that place. Okay, so to wrap this up, I want you to just think about the areas where you are either the high desire or low desire person, whether you're married or single, or not sure yet if you're going to be married or single. This still applies to you. Okay, it still applies to you. We will always have relationships where there's going to be differences of how we think it should go, how we want to interact with each other, the things that we want. And you understanding your stance, why it's your stance, and then holding on to yourself while you stand firm in that stance will strengthen you. It will grow your self-trust. It will grow your ability to manage uncomfortable emotions as they come up for you. You'll be able to honor yourself and know that you are standing up for yourself. That is a powerful, powerful thing, my friends. Okay, so in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be talking about a couple of things: self-confrontation and self-soothing. They're both awesome topics. I hope you come back for more. All right, thank you so much, and I will see you next time. All right, bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Heal from Infidelity podcast. If you would like to be kept in the know about upcoming free classes, new podcast episodes, and other ways of working with me, go subscribe to my weekly email. You can subscribe at andreagiles.com/lies-about-infidelity/. Again, it's andreagiles.com/lies-about-infidelity/. I will see you next time.